Cirrus, can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you're at, whoever you're with, whatever you're doing, however good it feels, however many times you're doing it. I'm just glad you're doing it here with me. Legal Vices on my little channel I like to call Legal Vices. Today's Maritime Monday. As always on Monday, unless there's something very special going on, we talk maritime matters. Today's a bit of an interesting day. The HMS Wager got me thinking about the old sailing ships and whatnot. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We talked about the HMS Wager. We've talked about other ships that have been involved in things, the Mignonette and all the other old ships that have been involved in accidents. But what was it really like to be on one of those? What was it really like to be on one of these adventure ships? What was it like to be on a warship or ships of the line, as they used to be called? And so I just thought we'd kind of take a little walk on that path today. And we've got a lot of videos. I've got 6 videos that I was thinking of showing. A couple are quite long. But again, I haven't. We'll see what happens. If things go south, this could be a very, very short stream. Depends on how copyrighty people are. But please, if any of you have channel owners happen to be watching these videos here on my channel, understand that I'm showing your video because it's the best that I could find regarding this subject. So the fact that you're being shown here is me acknowledging your work as some fantastic work. We've put your names, your channel names, and the links to the videos without my commentary on it down below. So everybody, please, if you get a chance, if you get an opportunity, go to these different sites. All the videos are listed below. Like their videos. Tell them that Legal Vices sent you. Tell them thanks for making such a good product, and hopefully we can have good relationships with everybody. Because hey, I can't do all this by myself. There's other people out there that do what I want to do, but they've already done it, and they've done it much better than I could. So, yeah, please give them the kudos that they deserve for the product that they've put out. And with that in mind, if you happen to watch the video and you happen to like it, I'm deeply, deeply, deeply grateful for that as well. So, folks, as I said, we've talked about a lot of these old ships, and they kind of seem fairly romantic, don't they? I mean, it's just the old age of the sea, the ships sailing around, dodging pirates, fighting naval battles, exploring the world. And the problem is that there's always there's always things that seem better than they actually were. And it's kind of a bad situation to be in, actually, to be on some of these old. When things were going well, they could be just luxurious palaces on the water. But when things are going wrong, when there's wars, when you're in battle, things can go very, very wrong. And yeah, that's what we're going to be looking at today. Some of these old warships. They were called ships of the line. They weren't called warships until much later, or man of war ships, but they were called ships of the line. It's they're just ships that were considered armed enough and powerful enough that they could serve in the line of battle. They could, we're going to talk about some size here today. I know we've talked a little bit about it with the HMS Wager, where they're taking approximately 4,000 trees to build. So we're gonna see a little bit of what goes into these things and why they were so big and what they looked like on the inside. So I guess the best way to start with that would be to look at a little bit of what it was like to be on a ship in a fight. But before we do that, the usual, we've got to ring the bell for the very first super chat of the evening. Easy 007 with the £2. A special about how Britannia ruled the waves. Well, let me try to read that again. A special about how Britannia ruled the waves. Well, about ships, regardless of nationality, we're going to be looking at ships. Which reminds me, we've got our lame like and subscribe poll up there. Don't forget that our like and subscribe poll today is pretty lame. It's but hey, it's the best I could do. Under fire at the spur of the moment. Smash the like and subscribe buttons and vote. What did the ship say when it got into a tight spot? I'm ship out of luck. I need a shipload of snacks. I'm in deep ship, or I'm up ship creek without a paddle. Those are your lame choices. We will reveal the right answer at the end of the program, so stay here. Stay tuned for the correct answer, because I guess there is one. Yeah, thank you so much, Easy 007, for that. That has started us off in the right direction. So you put yourself on a ship. You want to be in the Navy, the Royal Navy, the Spanish Armada. You want to be somewhere. You want to be somewhere, and you want to go and you want to experience the seas. Well, things are going great. You sight the enemy. You sight the enemy off off a head or a stern, or off the port side. You see them somewhere, and the decision is made to engage the enemy. So, how do you do that in a ship? You've got cannons, presumably, otherwise you wouldn't be a warship, or again, as they called them, the ship of the line. What do you do? Well, if any of you have seen any good Navy shows or old shows, yeah, you got to come alongside each other. You have to be close enough that your cannonballs can get there. So I mean, because they didn't have the cannons on turrets, so you couldn't just they were cannonballs. You could maybe load between, depending on where you were and what kind of cannon, between one a minute and maybe a couple of minutes, or if bigger cases, one every 3 minutes or so. How many guns you have versus how many the other guys have. This is a good little clip here, and this is where we started getting into the copyright claim zone. So I figured we'd just get these out of the way first. So I'm going to have to be carefully monitoring what's going on here so we don't get nailed. But there was a great series that I watched on Netflix. I mean, the story was kind of wonky and hokey, but it had some incredible naval battles on it. Black Sails is what it was called. Black Sails was a great show, and this is probably one of the best naval battle scenes that you'll see out there. For me, it kind of shows you the realistic way that things probably went down. So let's bring this video on up, and we'll see if we can get through some of it. Hopefully we can. So yeah, you would have the cannon ports on the sides. On each side of the ship, there would be cannon ports. They just flip up, the cannons, it comes out there, and you shoot, the cannons retract, you load another ball, you stick the cannon back out the cannon port, and then you fire again. Now, that's a good thing that you saw right there. This is what happens when your cannons aren't quite as powerful as the ones on the other vessel. See, their cannon shot is falling short, but the bigger, stronger vessel here isn't. See, so you would have to line your ship up the direction, you'd have to broadside your ship towards whatever direction you wanted to shoot. Yeah, how put yourself on the other side of this looking glass here. You're on the other side of the looking glass. You're this guy here, you're looking out the port. You're looking at your port window with your telescope. And then you see this. Those are all gun ports. And that's essentially what the ships would do when they fired. I mean, you get a cannonball from anywhere from here to here, maybe a little bigger, and it's not like a torpedo or a missile or a bomb that would explode the ship. It would essentially just punch holes in it. Take out the people, take out the side of the ship. You want to get it right down by the water line so that it punches a hole in it, and then the water comes in and they sink. But if you're lucky to hit some delicate spots, like the magazine where they store the powder, or places like that, or if they're carrying some sort of combustible material like a fuel then you might get a lucky explosion. But yeah, and that's the Lucy Chima sees that's the interesting thing. They're talking about the wood splinters everywhere. Now these aren't like little slivers that go in your feet. There's stories of you're talking like a meter long chunk of wood, sharp, hitting people in the head, taking off bits of their skull, things like that. Anything that's not nailed down is going to be moving if it gets hit. And so you see it punching holes through things, just turning people into mist. And so they're shooting at the water line, they're shooting at where the people are, they're shooting at the other cannons, and they're shooting at the sails, ripping the sails. You tear the sails, you punch big holes in the sails, and they're not going to be able to maneuver quickly or effectively. So I think I like that. I thought that was a pretty darn good battle. And if we fast forward here a little bit, that was just a couple of vessels. But then you get into the larger fleets. Well, I guess one thing we should show is the after effects. I guess, where are we here? Yeah, let's do this. So you beat the other ship into submission, you throw the hooks on it, you pull it alongside of you, and then you've got some choices to make. Do you keep them at a distance and just drag them along behind you? Hey, what's up, Mandy? Long time no see. Do you drag them along behind you? Do you board them and take over the ship? Or what? How do you treat that other ship once you literally get your hooks into it? You pull the losing ship alongside you. Then you've got to make some choices. And they chose violence that day. Or you can just blow the hell out of the other ship and sink it. and just leave it to burn and rot and sink. That's one thing you can do. Then you also get when you have a larger fleet and they get into the conflicts. You can be firing out of both sides of your ship at the same time, depending on where the enemy are. And you've got all the smoke and the stink. That would be a damn hard battle to fight. Yeah, can you imagine the sulfur from the black powder? And again, this is one thing we talked about with the HMS Wager, that these ships would have a couple of miles of rope to repair the rigging, to use in other places for just regular rope effects, but just regular ship's line to tie things off. But you can see how much rigging is on these ships. And we're going to get a closer look at that in another vessel. But people were like, well, why do you need a couple of miles of rope? So you can use them for everything on the ship. I mean, see how much rope is just involved here in these riggings. Here you go, tear the sails. And there she goes. Boom. Oh, that was the first video. We survived intact. Cool. we got through that one relatively unscathed. So yeah, rope was like the duct tape of the olden days. You needed rope for everything. And they would coat it with things like tar and other products to get it so that it wouldn't rot, and they would keep the bugs off of it. They just stored it and kept it there for when they needed it. We got a couple more super chats to come in here, so let's take care of them before we dive off into the next subject. Easy E007 with another one. Thank you so much. The Royal Navy is the only country without its nationality in its title. I saw 18th Century, and being a Brit ruled Britannia, the song came to mind. Well, we will be talking about a ship of the Royal Navy here in just a little bit. Rather famous one. Yeah, thank you so much for you oldie super chat. And if you want another one of the Royal Navy ships, the HMS Wager from last week, I'm pretty sure you were last week. I seem to recall you seeing you there, but if not, hey, go back and check that out. And Hunch the Dirty Roofer, I was just talking about you yesterday, saying it's been a while since I'd seen you around. Hey, welcome. Thank you so much. Hey, Legal Vice, interesting note, a ship of the line, usually crewed by 1 to 300, had a firepower equal to artillery of a battalion plus 1,000 soldiers. John Keegan, The Price of Admiralty, is a great analysis of naval development. I haven't read that book, but you're absolutely correct. That would be a normal thing. But if you get like a first class ship, they can have 500, 600, 700 people on board those ships. But yeah, that's a pretty darn decent number there, 1 to 300 people. And we'll get into a little more of the size when we talk about the next ship that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, because it's a big one. It's a big one. But thank you so much, Hunch. It's been a minute, brother. Good to see you again. All righty, let's take that down there. Eric Foam says, Jerf. Well, what's your work? Spars were worth more than cannons, hard to come by, vulnerable to destruction by enemy action and poor ship handling. Admirals on blockade obsessed over spars. And spars are, you got the masks that go up, and then you have the mast that goes sideways, especially on the bow of the ship. I'm trying to make this simple for everyday common folks, but the spars are the other masts that stick out and up to the sides. We'll see them as they come in here. We're gonna watch a ship being built essentially later today. So we'll get to a little bit to the parts and the bits and the pieces. Mandy, when Jeff gets big super chats, he should do the Moby Dick, the Archie blows. Well, when we get super big chats, 50 and 100 and 50 and above, we do a big giant ship's foghorn for that. That's what we do. Oh, RL, what's up? Hanging out in the background this past week. I came down with a wicked case of pneumonia. Yikes. It's been a rough time. Currently trying to cancel all of this week's appointment has been hell. Hey, pneumonia is not something to screw around with either. You don't want to get like a double pneumonia thing going. You don't want to make it any worse than it is. Take care of yourself. Get that taken care of. Well, Nana, good morning from Korea. Yes, British sailors were sometimes called jack tars because of the ropes. The ropes would get on them. Yep. Something jackasses think it was a racial slur. Absolutely not. It absolutely has nothing to do with race. In fact, on the HMS Wager, we were talking about John Byron, the grandfather of Lord Byron, the poet, was on the HMS Wager when it wrecked. His, Jack became John, like it does sometimes. John became Jack as a nickname, and that's one of the things he did was tarred rope. So his actual nickname was Jack the Tar. So anywho. Been there, done that. You cracked me up. Thank you so much. Been there, done that with a $5 super chat. Which shipbuilder are we going to watch, Noah or Nephi? If you know, you know. Neither. Neither. We should do a Noah's Ark one day. There's an idea. All right, so let's look at another ship's battle, shall we? This is from another great so-called admiral. I like this one too. This is another good brutal bloody naval battle. Now this has something interesting. This has a better view of ships in an armada fighting, like two fleets of ships fighting each other on the ocean. How that might go down. I mean, this is a little exaggerated because there's so many ships in this thing, but the same principle applies. Let's bring this on up here. That's how you know your day is going wrong. If you can't tell, I flipped the video to make it a little less copyrighty. See, and I do like this. You saw this in the other video as well. The captains, or the of the ship, or the masters. Back then, the commander, the captains of the ship were the rich, the wealthy, the nobles that had been appointed to those positions. The higher ranking military officers. The masters were they were sort of the ones that controlled the ship. Now today, the captain is the master of the ship, but back then they were two separate deals. And they've got to maintain their cool. If the top goes to hell, the bottom follows shortly thereafter that. See, there you go. This is essentially, like I said, this is exaggerated just by the number of ships that are in both of the fleets. But that would essentially be it. It would just be like, you see the sports teams at the end of the game where win or lose, you got to line up next to each other and go down and give each other high fives. This is sort of giving each other 5 high fives with like 1,000,000 cannons. So that was kind of what they would do. They would just, they would just sail past each other. and they're the winner's the one that still has ships afloat at the end of the line. And then you circle around, you go back, you change your strategies. That would just be shitty. And that's not an exaggeration of how close some of these ships would have to be to each other. I mean, you got to be right up in each other's grill. Because you're using basic old gunpowder and you're lobbing 4, 5, 10 pounds of iron at something. So you didn't get a lot of distance. So you're pretty up close and personal when you're dealing with this. Jeff K., you are absolutely correct. So it was like the infantry gun lines with ships. Yeah, where the two sides just walk to each other. One dude falls, another one takes his place, and they keep walking until they get together. That's exactly what it is. That's why they were called ships of the line. Before they were called warships or battleships, they were called ships of the line, which that was short for ships of the line of battle. So they were saying that's exactly what it was. They were saying they were the equivalent to hold a line of battle on the ocean. So yeah, kudos, and you get an extra bell points for that one, Jeff K. That is exactly why they were called ships of the line. How often did they just crash into each other? On accident, I would guess a bit. On purpose, that's not a really wise thing to do because your ship breaks too. Yours is just as wooden, but there are stories, there are records of ships, particularly pirate shippy type things, where they would take the bow of the ship that's sticking out, and they coat it with a metal or something, something hard, and then they would use that as a battering ram to punch holes in the other ship. But you got to be close. Yes, John Doe, master in the Royal Navy. Royal Navy was the navigator. A master and commander is a smaller ship where the captain, who held the title by courtesy, also did the duty of navigator. As you will have noted in the Russell Crowe film, master and... Okay, I have to be careful because in my head, I say something else every time. Master and commander, I don't even know what it is anymore because I just call it master and command me the far side of the strap on, but there's a totally different reason for that. We were thinking of one day, we were just sitting around trying to think of, how like porn movies will take a regular movie or a real story and create a porn title for it. And that one stuck and everybody liked that. And I have never been able to actually think of the real name. I have to be very, very careful when I talk about that movie. The Far Side of the World. Thank you. Because in my head, it's only what I just said. And that was like 20 years ago so I've never been able to call that movie by its rightful name. All right. All right, let's get back to this here. Yeah, that's nice, Mandy. Yes, you do, Alan. All right. I'm going to move me down here. Yeah, see, there you go. Look at that. You got these ships just blasting away at each other. Now, this is something that we're going to see a little bit later when we watch the ships being constructed. One of the decks would be where sort of the midshipmen would sleep. People of that rank, they would sleep in this one area, but in a time of a battle, their bedroom would essentially become the surgery theater. Their kitchen table would be the place where you start chopping off limbs and bandaging people up. So each part of the ship would serve like multiple purposes because you can't have a separate hospital and these things. So they had like a triage place, and then another part of the ship would actually, it's like, okay, this is normally your sleeping room, but right now we're cutting off people's legs and things. So we'll show you where this would be on a ship here a little bit later. I know, Mexican Vader, right? Again, I mean, this is ridiculously exaggerated, but
Nederlanders hebben de loop. Middenskader oproepen. Middenskader oproepen. Gijs, middenskader oproepen.
But see, now you're going to sort of see them shift their battle plans midstream. What they did is they would have these various, the flagship. It's called the flagship. The flagship is where like the admiral would be, or the commodore, whoever the highest ranking person in the fleet is. His ship would be the flagship, and this is literally one of the reasons why it's the flagship. They would run different colored flags or different combinations of flags to signal to everyone else in the armada what to do. It's sort of like a playbook for rugby or NFL football. Everybody gets in the huddle. You call out your blue 32 left, that kind of thing. This is sort of the equivalent. They hoist up a yellow flag, and that means something to every other ship. And there was basically two things that were considered amongst the highest priorities when conducting espionage or taking a ship prisoner. The two things you wanted to look for, one was the logbooks, because that's where they would keep their routes, their sailing routes, their numbers, inventory, things like that, their navigation details. And the other thing would be their flag book, the book with these signals. Because once you figure out what their signals are, you pretty much dominate it until they come up with a brand new set of signals, because they're relying on you not knowing what those signals are. So this is what they're doing here on this flagship. They're raising up the flag to say, play. We're running play yellow right now.
They're signaling a new formation, sir.
See, then it would, I mean, you'll see how big some of these rigging ropes are, and what it takes to turn these massive sails when they're under power by the wind.
What are they doing, sir? Damn it, man! They're going to cut us off.
See, and that's pretty much it. I guess you're all running in a line, and suddenly everything starts to move. You don't know, because you don't know what the yellow play signal is. You don't know what the yellow flag means, and you've got to try to second guess what they're doing.
Die Engelsman, die is van mij. 2 streken bakboord. We moeten in linie blijven, niet overstag. De ruimte. 2 streken bakboord. De ruimte.
Oh.
Goed. Overstag.
Wow. I honestly didn't know that. Huh. John Doe makes an interesting point here. An admiral flew his pennant from the mainmast. A vice admiral flew his from the foremast, it's the front, and the rear admiral flew his pennant on the mizzenmast, which is the rear. So they're named rear admiral. I did not know that. Hey, even I learn some shit every now and then. Hey, Chandler, good to see ya. Good morning to the west coast of America. Where's the Kraken scene? There's no Kraken being released here, unfortunately. Today, there be monsters. So now, again, just look at the ropes on those. I'm always fascinated by the rigging on these things, because literally every one of these ropes you see means something. Every piece of rigging is what they call the ropes once it has a purpose. But none of it is for decoration. Literally every single piece of rope on that ship serves a purpose. They got them circled. They circled the wagons. Yep. All right. So anyway, the beatings continue. The beatings continue until there's a winner or somebody runs away and makes you the loser. Yeah, so it's not exactly a lot of fun to be on one of. Yuck! It's a real thing. And another thing we're going to look at is, I mean, while they're at war doing that, you've got the people up in the rigging making adjustments to the sails and whatnot. And like you saw on some of these people, it's a long way to fall. We're going to look at some video at the top uppermost part of the main mast, so you get a little view to see how high it is. And what do you want, Straubs? What do you want? What do you want, Strawberry? Attention, probably. Anyway, get over here. Come on. You just wanted to be touched. Oh, come here. Pitch you, little Strawberry. There you go. Sorry. Have a needy dog today. Yeah, so it was just pointed out, I think it was John Doe that just pointed out the term learning the ropes. That was a nautical thing. There's so many nautical terms that were from the golden age of sailing and the golden age of ships that we use every day today. Flotsam and jetsam, that was just stuff that was floating in the water. Like scuttlebutt. A butt is like a cask or a keg, like you'd have a wine butt, like a sherry butt, where you put the sherry wine in. And the scuttlebutt it's a barrel that had fresh drinking water, and that was where the sailors would go when they drink their water, to sit around the water cooler and tell stories or share scuttlebutt. So that was the term scuttlebutt came from sailors hanging around the water cooler several hundred years ago. We talked about being shanghaied during the HMS Wager trial, where it was. Shanghai is a huge city. There's been foreign sailors going in and out of there for 500-600 years. And that was often a place to be kidnapped and pressed into work. So that's where the term, to be shanghaied came from. It comes from the old days when people get drunk in bars in Shanghai and end up on a ship somewhere. Now, I don't know if you saw, if you recall on the videos, and we'll see them again later, the cannons were all roped together. Because because of the laws of physics, basically, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Boom, the cannonball shoots out the back. And you saw how it would launch the cannons backwards, and the ropes would catch it. Well, if one of those ropes broke and the cannon flew back farther than it should against the backside of the room, that was called a loose cannon. So that's where the term loose cannon came from. As we talked about limey came from after they figured out, especially with the HMS Wager, that had one of the largest scurvy outbreaks in maritime history that killed hundreds and hundreds of people for no real reason other than they didn't know what it was. Turns out it was a vitamin C deficiency. The Royal Navy started supplying the ships, once they figured out what it was and what would cure it, was limes that are high in fruit. I mean, high in fruit. Limes that are high in vitamin C, and that got the British sailors nicknamed limeys. Keeping everything ship shape, that's pretty obvious. Hunky dory, that's actually something I didn't know until very recently. That's an abbreviated name of a town of a street in Japan, where sailors, but sort of like a Fleet Street in Japan. What else can we think of? Learn the ropes. The cut of his, I say that quite a bit. I like the cut of his jib. The jib is one of the sails that we'll see a little bit later, and oftentimes each ship would, or each country or each fleet would have a particular type of jib sail that they used. Whether it was a country of origin or like with the Dutch East India Company, they're on jib. So basically you could tell if just by looking at the jib sail, is this a good ship or a bad ship? And if it was a friendly ship, you liked the cut of the jib because they were your friend. We use the term in the doldrums. That's, you know, when you're down and all funked out and depressed. The doldrums were when sailing ships would be caught in a patch of sea where there's no wind, no waves, and it's a dead calm. Anything else? Huh. Oh, three sheets to the wind. That's a good one. 3 sheets to the wind. That's the problem. If you had like your main sails and, you know, the gigantic sheets of sails, if your sheets go just into the wind, if they break loose on 1 or 2 or more corners and they're just flapping in the breeze, your ship kind of staggers and wallows around in the water like a drunk. So that's where the term 3 sheets to the wind came from. All the piping things, piping hot. You know, something is piping hot. That was the old. They would whistle for dinner. Pipe down. That's, you know, when everybody would quiet down for the evening. Toe of the line. I'm just kind of looking through something. Toe of the line. Yeah, when they would stand inspection, they would put like the rope down, or there would actually be an actual line on the ships. And to toe the line, you would put your toes on the line and undergo an inspection. That's good enough. But there's so many of these phrases and words that are in our language today that came from sailing 200, 300, 400 years ago. And okay, now the next thing I want to do. Let's see, do we have anything to read here? No, we have no super chats, no monthly chats to get through, so we can move right on to the next little point of the day. Just for those of you keeping notes at home, we're about $65 away from unlocking strawberry camp tonight. All right. People. Jeff, things that were not allowed to be used or said. I don't know what you're talking about. Lynn Berry, I missed the first part of that. I have no idea what you're talking about, but whatevs. Nope. Crystal Pontek, member for 10 months. Thank you so much for supporting for 10 months. Here's a monthly chat. Thanks. We appreciate the support. Yoda doesn't like us because Yoda goes to sleep right around 10 o'clock on his little place on the sofa. He loves everybody, but he just goes to sleep a little bit early. Right. Well, here we go. Let's see. All right. I had to make sure Strawberry was still here. Hey, Mrs. K. Griff, what's up? We're just now about to start looking at the rigging of an 18th century tall ship. So a ship from the 1700s, what it was like to climb the rigging of that ship. And the rigging, again, is the ropes that's attached to everywhere on the ship, the sails mainly. And you can get a view of how tall these things were. Because like, when you see the videos like that and whatnot, you don't really get a sense of the size of these things. But this next little thing I want to show you kind of gives you a really good view of the size of the sails and the size of the sailing vessels and the height and the masts and things. And well, we'll talk about it as we go along. But first, Scrody McBoogerballs has also been a member for 10 months. Thank you so much. Here's another one for you. Well, right back at you. Thank you so much for that. All right. Now this here is a good video from it's History Hit is what the channel is. If you History Hit down there, there's a link to the channel and a link to the video. Fantastic, amazing video that you should all give it a good like. Let them know that you enjoyed it.
Welcome back to the History Hit YouTube channel. For a recent documentary, the team had the opportunity to film an authentic wooden tall ship, similar to those used by the Royal Navy in the 18th century.
Bump on down to here. So
This
again,
is Phoenix, a two-masted brig based in Penzance.
see, this is a two-masted brig, which is smaller than most of these warships that we were talking about and that you were seeing. Most of those were three-masted vessels. This is a smaller vessel. Keep that in mind as you're watching this. This is actually a smaller ship. Chris Mullen, I have one also. Thank you so much. Yes, you do, Chris. Thank you for being a member for 10 months. All right, we'll show you a little bit of
Today,
the
because
climb.
someone thought it would be a great idea,
Oh, there we go.
I'm going to climb to the top of her rigging.
And you can see how dangerous it was.
Right, it's challenge time here, exclusively on History Hit.
Now you'll see these guys all have their safety harnesses and their safety lines attached. Back in the day, you didn't have your safety lines. They were just free monkey. They were called monkeys. They're like rigging monkeys. They were just climbing up the ropes, essentially monkey-like. No safety gear.
Pretty steep up here. This is why this would be the job of the youngest lads with the keenest eyesight.
Now, see, this is a smaller ship, so you can't really see it here. But as you say, he's climbing up here, and here's this place to stand on. Normally on a bigger ship with a bigger mast, and notice how he's got to kind of climb out and around it, so he's sort of kind of free hanging for a second. But on the bigger ships, there would be a hole in the bottom of it called a lubber hole, which would be like a land lubber, like some guy who's not used to the ropes, not used to the sea. And basically, if you climbed up through the hole, through the lubber hole, you were basically a pussy. You know, you would try to avoid that at all costs, because the experienced sailors, they would go up and around. They wouldn't go through the safe little hole in the middle. And so that's just a little bit of a little bit of a historical fact there. And in one of the other videos, you'll see the lubber hole there where normal people would climb up, but the actual rigging monkeys wouldn't think of going up through the safe hole. They would be going up and over the edge.
Precious legs.
Yeah, see, there would normally, like I said, in the larger ships, there would be a hole here that they could climb up. But instead, he's just got to climb around.
I'm going on here. Oh, that's from somebody.
A land lubber, Chandler.
I'm going to go on the top.
Before climbing further up to the topsails, I was intrigued to learn more about the vital job done by the rigging monkeys.
Oh yeah, there you go. He just called them rigging monkeys.
Further up to the topsails, I was intrigued to learn.
Now, see, notice here how a lot of the. This is a bad view, and I think one of the other videos explains it, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But these lower sail rigs, the lines would go to different places on the deck, but these higher sails, they can't be controlled just because of the angle and the length of the lines. So they would actually tie these top sails down to lower areas on the other sails. If you follow these lines, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Like this here is attached down to like right there, it looks like. So you would, to move one of the top sails, you would also have to move in unison another sail. The physics of sailing is so cool. I don't understand it, and I can't do it, and I'm not an actual sailor, but I could watch people just do things with sails all day.
And more about the vital job done by the.
Yeah, so you can see here it's how they've got the top sails linked here down to the lower sails, and vice versa coming the other direction. There's just so much going on with these
rigging
ropes.
Monkeys in Nelson's Navy.
I'm wondering about. concerned about copyright music. So, I don't know. Nothing's coming through yet, so we're doing
coming
good.
up here when the ship is just pitching and in the big waves.
Yeah.
Right, I'm stepping on.
Me embiggen this
Now
here.
let's go out on this spar
What's going on? There we go.
to make sense.
So again, yeah, they've got these guys sitting here, but they've all got their. Why is that? I was saying that was like really horrible video. There we go. You can see, I mean, they've got to walk out here on these ropes, but they've all got their safety harnesses on. Back in the day, dudes would just walk out on those ropes. And, you know, as you can see, you get someone on, only one person on the rope, and the rope kind of bows down quite a bit. You get more weight put on the rope, and it just changes. Every time someone takes a step, you add another person on. The safe foothold gets shorter and shorter. And I mean, it was a ridiculously dangerous job.
Sail, right?
That's it.
Why are we on slow speed?
Tricky bit. I said I was stepping on.
Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. There we go. It's tremendously uncomfortable, but that's the job, unfortunately.
There we go. Right.
All right. For some reason,
We
that went.
find the more people we have on the yards, the tighter this gets and the less legroom you have.
All right, I'm
Why
gonna
just come out these yards?
do
You
this
can't
here.
on the yards,
Well, we'll just kind of fast forward this. But again, notice all of the ropes, and the poor camera guy that had to carry the camera up there. And you can tell the guy isn't used to it, but they're getting higher. They're getting higher up there. And what he wants to do is climb to the top of the top mast. And he's going up to the third level there. And now imagine these guys unfurling the sail here. The guys, imagine doing this in a storm, or rolling it up in a storm, or when someone's shooting a cannon at you. Imagine that. He's going up to the higher mast there. And we'll pull this back down to a normal speed now. And use some audio. But even this far up, every one of these ropes does something.
This way you have to trust the abilities and the professionalism of your crewmen, your crewmates. They've actually done their job properly. And the whole thing's not to come tumbling down.
He's getting up there.
It's one of the most remarkable things I've ever done is climb the rigging of a tall ship. And to think that you're following in the footsteps of those coming up not just in harbour.
So
like
look
me,
at how
but
high they are up
the
there.
ship through the water.
And again, this just notice the height. But again, this is one of the smaller ships.
To come anywhere close to the experience of those
This was the engine room of
Let's-
the
to takers in Nelson's Navy.
Where are we getting?
To come anywhere close to the experience of those sailors in Nelson's Navy gives
See if we
me
can get
an
another
enormous
good
sense of
downward view here.
pride. Now it was time to take in the view.
Let's see. So they are. He is high up there. Is he? Oh, okay, there's a good view of how high off the ground they are. And again, this is one of the smaller ships. So go check out that channel. That what did I say that channel was? That was History Hit. Now, all right, let me bring myself back up here again. We've got a few more things to read, I believe. I'm getting Lonely Island. I'm on a boat vibes. Yeah, again, that's what we were saying. You know, David Nelson, when you're in high seas, this thing can be swinging as much as 40, 50 degrees from one side to the other. And if you're in a storm, you've got the wind whipping at you. If you're in battle, you've got cannonballs whizzing past your head. And they've just got to climb up and do it. All right, we got Scrody McBurgerball, we got Chris Mullen. Oh, Kitty, member for 11 months. Thank you so much. Another one, said in DJ Khaled voice. Hope I did you proud there with that one. Easy E with another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Easy 007. Did I just call you Easy E? I think I just called you Easy E. Sorry, I still had DJ Khaled in my brain there, I guess. I don't know. Easy 007. If I recall correctly, the Royal Navy were the first to have standardized cannons and cannonballs, though that was against Spain around the 16th century. Huh. Another fun fact. Linberry onboard superstitions. Oh yeah, there's a lot. As I've said before, probably sailors and sports people are channels that I did. Yeah, shoot. Chandler, thanks for making me feel better. You could have said no, it's okay. But no, I can't remember what I was saying. Never mind. I got sidetracked there again. ADHD brain just took a big dump in my head. All right. Scrolling back here. Flux, just say nope. I would have died the first time in that storm, right? Skyscraper is another nautical term. Huh. That's one I wasn't aware of. Cool. Thanks. Okay. So how did a man from Utah get into maritime law? Oh, that's a long story. I basically came to make it as short as possible. I'd been in Korea before law school, went back to the States for law school. In law school, I got a clerkship with a firm here that practiced maritime law. And long story short, they offered me a job and I came here. So that's kind of how it happened. Oh, and Toodly Pip, the free Zachariah Anderson member for 8 months. Thank you so much. You just needed Jack Sparrow to be standing at the top of the mast. Oh, splinters. St. Elmo's Fire was kind of, you still get that on airplanes and things like that occasionally. All right. Well, that's sort of the overview, I guess, of what it would be like to be in combat with one of these things, during an actual battle, and what all of these ropes and the riggings. I don't know. I know I harp on it so much of it. I'm just fascinated by the ropes on these ships. I've always wanted to build a sailing ship model with all of the rigging lines and things, but I know I would just stroke out and break it into a billion pieces out of frustration before I finished it. So I never have tried to build one because I just don't have the patience. Chat, you guys are nuts. All right. Now, this is kind of what started it all, because we were talking about the HMS Wager. And I was thinking that, we talk about, we talk about the ship, but we don't get a good view of what it actually looked like. What would something like the Wager look like? So I found this video, and this guy's channel is cool as hell. He does sort of 3D renderings of things. The channel again is down there in the description. Animagraphs is his name. Animagraphs, and that's his channel. And there's also a link to not only to his channel but to this video as well. So this is definitely one you want to head over and hit a like, give him a thanks for this, because this is way cool. This video that we're going to be watching here. Before we do that, we've got let's take our midstream little 30-second or 1 minute grift. What have we got? We got 228 viewers. That's really not bad for a Maritime Monday. Thank you so much to the 225 of you that are here, and we got 183 likes, and we're approaching Doggo Cam. So cool. So what it looks like we're about 30-ish away. We've got our like and subscribe poll. Let's see how we're doing on the like and subscribe poll today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and take our poll. And if you have already subscribed, just double check, make sure you're still subscribed. We're on an upward trajectory, and I want to hang on to it. This is great. So don't let those bastards at YouTube unsubscribe you. Here's our question for the day. What did the ship say when it got into a tight spot? 13% of you say, I need a shipload of snacks. 27% of you say, I'm ship out of luck. 33% of you say, I'm in deep ship. And 27% of you have said, I'm up ship creek without a paddle. Interesting. I'll reveal the correct answer at the end of the stream, because I'm sure there's going to be a correct answer. And Britt Cormier's in the house. What's up? Thank you so much for that $20 super chat. When I was in San Diego, I visited the Star of India. It was great to see how tight everything was on the ship. If I recall correctly, it had to be manned by women today because the men today were too tall to stand on the rigging ropes. And to function properly inside the ship, in the inner decks. That's interesting, huh? Like the whole ship, or was there like some short dudes there too? I would assume that there were some short dudes, and it wasn't just like a Valkyrie ship or an Amazon ship full of like Amazon warrior women patrolling the seas. Every now and then there's a Russian Navy sailing ship that comes into port here in Busan. Haven't seen it for a while, but I'll try to get some good pictures of it next time it came in. There was also one from Peru that came into port a while ago. It was kind of cool. It was a Peruvian sailing ship. I have a picture of it somewhere, but it's not a good picture. Taken at night with my cell phone from a very long distance. Short kings. People. All right, thank you so much for that, Britt. Deeply, deeply, deeply appreciated. Now I was in a scale replica of Constitution's gun deck, 6 feet tall, tight fit. Well, I could probably do it at 5'11". All right, let's bring this on up. We're all caught up, and thank you for all the likes. And if anybody, I haven't checked the subscription since we've been here, but if anybody's subscribed since we started, hey, thanks, appreciate it. All right, this Animagraphs video is way cool. I really like this. It's a bit of a long one, but I like it, so we're gonna watch it.
I'm Jake O'Neill, creator of Animagraphs, and this is how an 18th century sailing battleship worked. We've based our model on the HMS Victory, which was first launched.
Now, the HMS Victory was a big son of a bitch. It was like way bigger than the Wager. I believe it had 110 cannons. And if you're keeping score at home, this ship had more cannon on it than Napoleon had at Waterloo. So on this one ship.
In 1765. However, our goal is to present a high-quality teaching model with period-correct generalizations, as opposed to a history lesson on the Victory herself.
See, this will familiarize you with some of the decks of the ships and things like that. Show you
Let's start with the ground up, which is constructed primarily from oak wood, with some elm, pine, and fir.
Cool.
Timbers are joined, for example, by pinning diagonal surfaces together in a scarf joint, secured with wood or metal.
So there's a good scale model of a person for you. The HMS Victory is no longer commissioned. It's a museum now, but that wasn't too long ago. I can't remember when it became a museum, but it wasn't too long ago.
Metal fasteners, and then formed into the desired shapes. Floor beams are connected to these vertical timbers and supported by horizontal and vertical knee braces.
So I mean, already you're seeing a lot of wood going into these gigantic things. Notice the human size down here to give you some scale. Always keep your eye on the person. There's always going to be a person in these frames.
The shell or hull of the entire ship is formed in this way. Thick planks enclose the frame inside and out. At the waterline, the hull is nearly 2 feet thick. It's a floating tank clad in wooden armor. The masts, the tallest of which tower some 200 plus feet above the.
So again, that the one that we just saw was nowhere near 200 feet tall on the mast. I mean, that's 2/3 the length of a football field, an American football field.
The water level are supported at each floor as they extend to the massive keel beam at the ship's very bottom, where they're anchored with large wooden blocks called steps. At the exterior, the hull below the waterline is covered with copper plating to protect against harmful marine growth.
How cool is that?
And for
Copper
improved
plating?
water tightness.
Like giant sheets of copper on it.
Now let's tour each floor, starting with the hold in the belly of the ship. The hold is the main storage area. A bed of rocks provides draining and stability for stored items, as well as ballast, which is weight added to balance the ship. The Victory had 38 tons of extra ballasting on one side when built. Iron blocks were also used to supplement ballast weight.
Yeah, and they would use sand or iron shot or other heavy things there on the floor of the holds to give them the ballast, to give them the weight, and for stability purposes.
There are wooden ventilation ducts at the fore and aft for improved air quality. At the back of the hold, there are 10.
Now, what the numbers they're giving you here for what is stored on the Victory is for a voyage of about 6 months. So this is just a basic idea of how much the amount of provisions that are on this ship.
Tons
for
of flour
6 months.
storage.
10 tons of flour.
The nearby spirit room holds 50 tons of beer. The main area carries 300 tons of water, 50 tons of coal or wood fuel, 20 tons of timber for repairs or other needs, 30 tons of salted meat, 45 tons of biscuits, 15 tons of peas, and 2 tons of butter, among many other items.
I mean, those are some phenomenal numbers. I mean, hundreds of tons of just food. I mean, even 2 tons of butter. That's where I'd be. Just find me in the butter larder. So, when ships like the Wager were shipwrecked and stuff, they would have provisions, but you get shipwrecked and it gets ruined by the water. It gets buried under the water, gets buried under other debris.
A shot locker holds 120 tons of cannonballs and other projectiles. A hold well collects water in the lowest part of the ship to be pumped out. The Grand Magazine stores 35 tons of gunpowder.
That's where you want it. That's where you want to shoot your shot. That's where you want to hit your ship.
And is lined with copper to keep the powder dry, protect it from sparks, and keep rats out. In the nearby filling room, sailors prepare gunpowder cartridges for the ship's cannons, called guns.
Cannons are called guns, in case you were wondering.
The orlop deck is above the hold and straddles the water line. As such, there are no side openings to provide light or airflow.
So, think about that. Oh, Straubs, you okay? I think Strawberry twisted her leg when she jumped off there. Anyway, this orlop deck, that's the deck I was talking about. The orlop deck is traditionally where the midshipmen and other people, that was like the main sleeping quarters. But in times of war, in times of battle, it would become the operating theater. So everybody that's on the orlop deck, gee, sorry, I know you planned on sleeping here, but we're going to be filling up holes and chopping off limbs and things right here on your dinner table. And notice he said that there were no windows or ventilation to the outside. So remember when we were talking about the HMS Wager and how the lice-borne typhus would spread, and all these other diseases, the dysentery, how that would all spread because these guys are sitting right next to each other, literally like asses to elbows, in this unventilated room, deep, dark, dank part of the ship for weeks and months.
There's a network of removable floor gratings through every deck at the ship's centerline for ventilation and for transferring items, including cannons and so on, throughout the vessel. At the rear of the orlop deck, additional gratings provide more ventilation for the hold. This is the bread room with flour and biscuit storage readily available for meals. Daily rations are dispensed from the steward's room to mess cooks. The steward may sleep here if needed to prevent food theft. The steward's appointed cabin is nearby. There's the purser's cabin and store for the purser who handles accounts and money. And a marine's clothing store.
Now take a notice how, like, the guy that controls the money, the guy that controls the food, the guy that controls the clothing, they all have rooms with iron bars and locked doors.
Across the other side, there's a dispensary for medical supplies. The surgeon has their own cabin here for sleeping and performing mostly non-battle related procedures. There are also stores for the captain and lieutenant.
So the captain and the lieutenant, they both get their own private storage lockers because, hey, they outrank everybody.
Large area in front of these rooms is the midshipman's berth for junior ranking officers, usually in their teenage years. Hammocks are hung here for sleeping. Front and back hanging magazines hold racks full of ready-made gun cartridges, which are specially prepared sacks of gunpowder for cannons. The hanging magazines are framed between decks, suspended in a fashion for enhanced protection from catastrophic damage sustained in action. Light comes from an adjacent room with a lantern behind glass panes for safety.
Yeah, you don't want to be bringing in torches or open lanterns into the gunpowder magazines. That's when really bad stuff happens.
There are hatches throughout the orlop deck floor called scuttles. Many of these are in strategic areas for guarded access to the ship's valuable stores in the hold beneath. The cockpit area in the middle of the floor is used to treat crew members during battle. Moving towards the front of the ship, sail rooms provide storage for sails when not in use or when held.
And again, even on a medium-sized ship of the line like the HMS Wager, they would have 20,000 square feet of spare sails
held for repairs. Cable tiers hold coils of anchor cable or ropes, with open walls to allow proper drying. There are cabin and storerooms for the bosun, who oversees some of the deck crew. The bosun's stores have items related to rigging, cordage, anchors, sails, boats, flags, and so on.
Well, okay, there's something to note. You'll notice that boatswain is pronounced bosun. They do a lot of that contraction of words, especially in I guess kind of all militaries kind of have their own abbreviations and anagrams and stuff like that. But like boatswain became bosun, the forecastle became the forecastle, things like that. They would just shorten them to so it was easier and took less time to say.
Rigging, cordage, anchors, sails, boats, flags, and so on. The onboard carpenter has a cabin and fully stocked workshop for ship maintenance and repair. A narrow passageway along each side of the orlop deck, called the Carpenter's Walk, ensures unobstructed access to the hull at the waterline, which is especially important for any damage sustained in this critical area during action.
And so the carpenter, he had to be able to get to the to the inner part of the hull.
At the front of the orlop deck, there's the gunner's store for all things related to armaments, including rifles, pistols, and supplies for the many onboard cannons.
Now the fun
Lower
begins.
gun deck. The lower gun deck is built to support 30 guns of the 32-pounder class.
That's a big-ass cannon.
At over 100 tons in total. 32-pounder refers to the 32-pound shot these guns are designed to fire. Guns are maneuvered for aiming through a system of ropes and pulleys at either side and at the rear. Tools with long handles are mounted above the gun. Sailors must lean out of the gun port to access the barrel.
Yikes.
In order of usage for firing, the worm, with a metal spiral at its end, is inserted into the barrel and turned several times to catch any unburned bits left inside. Next, the wet sponge extinguishes any remaining embers. A cartridge is loaded and rammed home with the rammer. Then a shot, round or otherwise, is loaded and also rammed home. Nearby fire buckets hold water or sand for fire extinguishing. Wooden poles lift the barrel to allow adjustment of a wedge at the back, which controls gun pitch. A thick rope limits rearward roll due to the powerful recoil after a shot is fired.
And they've got the people here, and then a cannon would take anywhere from 6 to 11 or 12 people to operate it, sort of like an F1 pit crew or an IndyCar pit crew, where you just get everybody that does one thing, and he does it very, very well. One guy's job is to pull this rope. That's his job. So you get everybody and this thing should, in theory, run like a well-oiled machine.
At the front of the lower deck, there's a manger where animals are sometimes kept. Anchor cables enter the ship through holes at the bow.
I'm sure the animals love those cannons going off right in their face.
Or drying. Sturdy wooden structures called bitts, whose beams extend to the deck below for added support, provide tie-off points for anchor cables to prevent any movement while anchors are deployed. Moving further back,
just notice the economy of
bills
space
or chain pumps with long handles so that many sailors can operate them in unison. These pumps remove water from the hold well. The cranks drive a chain with leather discs. To lift water up into removable wooden tubes on the deck floor.
See, that's a pretty damn ingenious way of pumping out water.
To drains at the ship's side. All 4 pumps operating simultaneously can move 465 gallons of water per minute out of the hold.
Well, if you're getting 465 gallons of water pouring into your ship in a minute,
capstans for hauling in the anchor cables.
Okay, and yeah, you'll see these. It's not only for hauling in anchor cables, but for basically anything that you need. They're giant winches, just basically anything you need to winch up cannons, anchor chains, whatever, anchor rope. There weren't chains back then, anchor ropes. But if you look closely, you can see holes in this thing that they put like wooden bars in there, and then you could push it around kind of like a treadmill thing.
More on this process later. In this same area, there's also an elm tree pump, so called for the rot-resistant elm wood used in its construction. These general-purpose pumps draw up seawater from a hole in the bottom of the ship for cleaning or fighting fires. Middle gun deck. 28 guns of the 24-pounder class are positioned along the middle gun deck. Shot garlands with projectiles line the grating and stairways, called ladders, at the center. The ship's main entry port is situated in the middle. There's a dedicated sick bay at the front. Behind that, the main galley for food preparation and distribution for some of the officers and all of the regular crew members, with a large iron stove that exhausts through upper decks to the outside.
Yeah, so they had really big fires always going inside the ship.
The
That's kind of
stove
cool,
includes
isn't
a
it?
water condenser for distilling fresh water from salt water. Capstans at the center are connected to those of the middle deck below. The rear of this deck has officers' quarters and the wardroom for officers to eat and congregate with a nearby pantry. The panel walls are either folded up and secured or carried away entirely to make space for guns during action.
That's pretty damn cool too, I think. That's one of my favorite things about this ship. You have the captain's quarters. This is the mess where all the officers would eat dinner. You got all the officers, some of the officers' quarters over here. War breaks out. They just rip the walls down or fold them up and just turn them into cannon forts. I think that's really cool.
The panel walls are either
I don't know
folded
why,
up
but
and
that's way
secured
cool.
or carried away entirely to make space for guns during action. As such, those inhabiting these quarters often share the limited space with onboard guns. A wooden cover at the back can be removed to expose the rudder, especially for emergency access. Upper gun deck. The upper gun deck holds 30 12-pounder guns. Moving to the front of the deck, roundhouses at either side are accessible to officers for a more private restroom experience.
A private restroom experience.
Sailors of lower ranks must venture outside the ship entirely to the forecastle, where there are 6 open-air toilets called seats of ease.
Again, an appropriately titled thing. Seats of ease. But yeah, unironically, the poop deck has nothing to do with what you're thinking. So just heads up on that.
Simple canvas partitions form a small sick bay as needed. Non-commissioned officers' cots can be hung nearby for sleeping. There's a skylight for the galley below.
Hang on, just 1 second, I'll be right back.
Nearby chests hold rifles and pistols. Removable tables are slung between guns, with equipment chests as benches. There's a bag that holds flogging ropes and the famed cat of 9 tails for disciplinary action.
Strawberry
Heading
wanted
aft,
ball.
There's the Admiral's sleeping quarters, dining quarters, and day cabin. The nearby
That's some nice
quarter
digs for the
gallery has a
Admiral.
private toilet as well.
I mean, sure, you've got to eat dinner with some giant ass cannon sitting next to you, but hey, you got some real estate to burn there.
As with other floors, wall paneling can fold out of the way or be removed to clear the floor for action. Quarterdeck. The captain's accommodations make up the rear of the quarterdeck, including a private toilet, day cabin, dining area, and sleeping cabin with the captain's relatively luxurious hanging bed. Moving forward, there's a cabin for the captain's personal secretary, and the shipmaster's cabin at the other side. The steering wheel sits at the center, exposed on one side but shielded overhead by the poop deck floor.
So yeah, it's these bigger ships would have these double wheels, not just the one going ah. They would have 2 people moving. He's going to explain why.
A single rope wraps around the steering drum and extends through the quarterdeck floor, passing through the upper and middle deck floors to the ceiling of the lower deck, where pulleys redirect the rope as it spreads to either side of the arced tiller sweep. Metal rings in the tiller arm guide the rope to tensioning gear at either side. As the wheel rotates, ropes move, guiding the tiller gracefully along its arc. The attached 3-story tall rudder swings on metal hinges, which are fastened tight to the keel.
That's huge.
Focusing back to the quarterdeck, there's a binnacle in front of the ship's wheel which holds 2 compasses for redundancy, and so that sailors on either side of the wheel may take accurate readings. A lamp sits at the center with a small chimney to let off lantern smoke. A row of fire buckets hangs from the poop deck beams above. Various 12-pounder guns line the sides. The center of the quarterdeck is open to the upper deck below, with skid beams and cradles to secure various onboard boats. There's the launch, which is the largest boat, able to handle the anchors or a ship's cannon. Pinnacle boats transport senior officers, while the barge is for the admiral. Cutters, the smallest and fastest of the boats, are mostly used for emergencies. During battle action, all of these boats are used in some capacity. There's a belfry and bell nearby. The frontmost part of the quarterdeck is called the forecastle, hearkening to older ships where this
You should be
area
pronouncing
was
that
raised up
forecastle,
from the
but
deck.
whatever.
There are 2 68-pounder carronade-style guns at either side.
Those are some
They
big-ass
use a special
cannons.
sliding frame for aiming and recoil, with small wheels underneath. The large, heavy shot, paired with a shorter, thinner barrel, uses less gunpowder to deal maximum damage at close range.
Oof.
Poop deck. The short poop deck is a raised section at the rear. Its name derives from the French word for stern, la poupe, which I suspect would somehow sound even funnier among age groups predisposed to such humor.
Like you, Chad.
Skylight illuminates the captain's dining quarters below.
Like you, Chad. He's talking to you guys,
There are
especially you,
cranes
Mexican
called
Vader.
davits on both sides for hoisting
talking to
items
you.
to and from the ship, including the onboard boats. Shelves at the rear contain many flags for signaling.
Yes, Chandler. That's what they were talking about.
Hammocks.
That's exactly what they were talking
So
about.
far, we've seen hammocks for officers and other higher-ranking individuals. However, most of the ship's 800-plus crew were barely allotted a shoulder.
There you go. There's a good view. And you get 800 crewmen on this ship. Now, this right here tells you why lice and typhus and dysentery and flu and cold and every other communicable disease you can possibly imagine just runs rampant through a ship's crew. Because they're all sitting in hammocks exactly like this. So when I was saying during the wager thing the other day, last week, they literally are just piled in there like the slave trader ships back. You would line up the slaves just asses and elbows and to maximize the most amount of people you can squeeze into a small space. That's so just imagine how fast something would spread in those conditions. Ugh.
There's width of space in which to occupy their respective hammocks. Cannons are secured to the ship's sides to make room for sleeping sailors. While decks can accommodate many hammocks this way, because of watch routines aboard the ship, only half of the crew would be asleep at one time. During action, rolled hammocks are stacked in side netting to make a protective barrier around the quarter and poop decks. Hammocks are also regularly transported above decks to be aired out.
To get the lice out of them. Ugh.
Anchors. The ship carries 7 anchors. The bower's anchors at the front are the main set, with a backup pair of anchors slung nearby. These heavy anchors weigh around 10,000 pounds apiece, with the cables weighing even more. There's a crane on either side.
I'm talking about the
cathead, which is used to safely
I wasn't
lower
making
the
a
anchors from the
physical
shipside
comparison.
perch.
I was making comparison to the layout of the sleeping arrangements.
Once in position, the massive 8-inch diameter anchor cables handle the rest. Depending on the scenario, raising and lowering anchors could be grueling work, taking hours and involving many sailors. Capstans are vertically connected through the lower and middle decks.
Guns are rotated as ladders and pillars are carried away
to make room for large removable wooden bars. With 6 or more sailors to a bar, the capstans can accommodate tens to hundreds of sailors at a time. The anchor cables are too thick to warp around the capstan base. Instead, a messenger rope makes a loop, winding around the capstan and passing behind pillars at the front.
This is actually really fascinating how they
as the capstan turns and the messenger rope
how the
travels,
capstan pulls in the anchors.
Crew use sections of rope called nippers to tie the anchor cables to the messenger line, and they both move together. Cables pass through decks to the previously shown cable storage in the orlop deck. Masts, sails, and rigging. There are 3 masts, called the mizzen, main, and foremasts, respectively. Each has various sails which hang from horizontal beams called yards. Since the yards are perpendicular to the masts, this is said to be a square-rigged ship. Triangular staysails hang between masts to aid in various maneuvers or make better use of available winds. The bowsprit at the front originates from the upper deck below, extending up and outwards to provide rigging for the foremost sails, called jibs.
That's where the I like the cut of his jib thing.
The driver or spanker sail at the rear is also used for maneuvering or to balance helm orientation as needed. Some yards have studding sail beams that extend laterally.
No, Outlaw Tots, I have not. I have not done that.
For added speed in good weather. The impressive density of these rigging lines can be daunting at a casual glance. Let's break things down for easier visualization.
There'll be a test on this in the morning, so pay attention.
Shrouds support the masts side to side.
They extend up from the ship's hull to platforms above.
And from platforms themselves further up the mast.
I mean, this guy that made this video, he put so much work into this thing. The accuracy appears to be quite amazing on this thing. So detailed. This guy does some seriously good work.
Dead eyes allow adjustment as lines may stretch over time. Horizontal rat lines in between turn shrouds into rope ladders that sailors will climb to interact with sails and rigging above. Stays provide front-to-back stability. Many of these structural lines are coated in black tar for increased durability against harsh sea life. Finally, the running rigging controls the sails themselves. Let's focus on setting just one sail. Sailors ascend the shrouds and do their work from ropes suspended beneath the yards. When stowed, the sail is lashed neatly to the yard with sections of rope called gaskets. These gaskets are untied and coiled to begin the unfurling. Bunt lines run through the sail with leech lines at the sides. These lines are let down, allowing the sail to drape. Clew lines at the corners are then loosed as well, allowing the corner to lower.
The Victory, this ship that he's talking about here would go about 20 kilometers an hour, about 11 knots.
The yard hoist lines are hauled to lift the yard upwards into place. The sail is now fully set. The yard is secured to the mast but can rotate around it. Yard brace lines at the sides and sheet and tack lines at the corners must be loosed or hauled in careful orchestration to position the sail. The lines for this sail are operated from deck level. Some may tie off at the shrouds or to dedicated fife rails with many pins for tie-off points. It takes all of these lines to set and operate just one sail.
That's just crazy. That's so fascinating.
Add all other sails to the mix, and the amount of rope on deck at any one time becomes enormous.
That is a cool video, and he does breakdowns like that for so many other things. That's what sort of set this whole thing off. Now, hang on, I've got myself on echo here. There we go. I've unechoed myself. Me competent. All right, everybody. That's the end of that particular video. John Doe says the difficulty of positioning the sail is why these ships turned with the wind abaft instead of tacking like you do in recreational ships. Tacking. Well, see, there's also another great video to show how these things will tack, and how they also turn. When you like the physics of turning these things are so cool. If you made it, put a huge strain on the rig. I mean, these ships could. The way they could use the wind, that even with a really, really strong, headwind, they could still go forward against a strong headwind just by knowing the proper physics for moving the sails. It's fascinating as hell. Well, Chris Mullen says that was amazing and impressive. We're not done yet, but that 3D modeling of the HMS Victory was way cool. And the animograph, that's some cool stuff. That guy does some hard work, and again, he's done other things as well, not just this one ship. So, check him out, see if it's something you like, and if it is, consider giving him a subscribe. But definitely like this video over there because he deserves. I don't know if he needs them. He deserves the likes for doing what he just did there. Now, the last thing we have, I guess the last thing we have. Yeah, looking at the time, that's about the last thing we have. This next, wait. Apologies. We need to do some business here. We need to take care of all of you. That's what we need to do. John Doe also pointed, remember that the front of the ship is generally downwind, so the crew heads, the bathrooms, animals in sick bay are usually at the front, so bad smells are blown away from the sailors. Patricia Andrews is flogging is a bad tradition. Well, corporal punishment kept people in line. I read a description of a flogging earlier today, actually, by someone who had witnessed a person who was flogged 25 times with a cat of nine tails. Basically, his back looked like it was charred, burnt meat. That was charred on the outside and still blood red in the middle, and it just peeled back. It was a really, really bad description, which sort of made me say, you know what, I would never want to do something that would get me flogged. I almost said flayed, get me flogged. And I was also reading book about the HMS Wager that I talked about last week. And they were saying that some of the sailors that were caught stealing food from Captain Cheap's storage locker where they were keeping all the food. 3 people were caught and convicted, and they were given. Everybody else wanted to kill them. They wanted to put them to death for stealing their food while they're all starving to death. But Lucy Chima, you're gonna want to hear this. If you think flogging was hellish, yeah, that's the point. These 3 guys that were caught stealing food from the food stores while everybody else was starving to death after the crash of the HMS Wager. Everybody wanted to put him to death. For some reason, the captain said, "Okay, he apparently said that we've got to live or fall by laws, by the laws of the sea and whatnot." So the crime doesn't touch the person. It's not a personal crime. It's something, so it doesn't warrant death. But they sentenced these 3 guys that were found guilty of stealing food to 600 lashes each. And they were administered over 3 days in lots of 200 lashes each. They would do 50, wait for the guy to regain consciousness, give him 50 more, and over the course of a day, give him 200 lashes and repeat for 3 days. And then they banished him to an island, to a little islet. But yeah, and it didn't stop people from stealing because people continued to steal. The fear of being flogged 600 times was less than the fear of starving to death, I guess. But yeah, so think about that. 600 lashes in batches of 200, because any more than that, they figured it would kill them. And you certainly don't want to kill them. You just want to flog them 600 times. But now we saw this breakdown of the HMS Wager and how everything was arranged. Not HMS Wager, the Victory, and how all of that sort of came together. Now what I want to do for the last video is show you an actual walkthrough of what we just saw. We just saw the 3D modeling. Now I want to take you through the actual thing itself. And this is from Chave Weather. The channel is Chave Weather. And before we get to that, let's wrap up these last few things we've got to mention here. Cicada Mania. Now, see, here's a question. Is it cicada or cicada? I've heard it pronounced, but here in Korea, it's Mamie, so Mamie is easy to pronounce. I've heard it cicada and I've heard it cicada, and I never heard of a cicada or a cicada until I came to Korea as a young man. So there you go. Thank you for that. I didn't learn any of this from watching One Piece. Right? They didn't talk about any of this. Outlawed Thoughts, thank you so much for your $5 super chat. My goal at this point is to make you as obsessed with Alaska as I am. I'll check out that whaling disaster. I just did a very quick Google search. Was it 33 whaling ships were lost? Eeks. All right, that catches us up. That begs the question: have we achieved Doggo Cam? Oh no, we're still about $20 away from Doggo Cam. Aren't we, Strawberry? We're about $20 away from seeing your ugly mug. All right. Cicada. I've never heard cicada before. Huh. Well, there you go. Somebody heard. Britt Cormier. I'm always impressed when I look at pics of ports full of tall ships. The skill it took to maneuver those ships to the docks without major issues had to be amazing. They did it without motors to slow the ship's momentum, right? Yeah, it was essentially it was wizardry. I guess that was the easiest way to do it. It was just wizardry. And Easy 007 with a £5 super chat. Without the Royal Navy, there would be no British Empire, and who knows where the world would be without its naval innovations. Well, the Spanish weren't too bad at it. The Portuguese, the French Navy, for what it was, is kind of there too. Who knows? But definitely did leave their let's try that again. Definitely did leave their mark on the sailing world. Still today, most maritime law is based on British law, based on English law. All right. Well, that looks like it's that time. We'll see here. Let me turn this around. And Strawberry's on one. I don't know what the heck's going on with the strawberry dog, but she's behaving oddly. I think there's a ball trapped somewhere that she wants to get. But anyway, it's that time, ladies and germs.
Release the hounds.
We've achieved Doggo Cam. There we go. What's up, Strawberry? She's like, meh. She's just been sitting here staring at this guitar case for like a long time, just wondering what's going on, huh? All right. For the last, Strawberry will be joining me for the last video of the day. I didn't mean like join me. Yeah. All right. Work this around to keep all of you happy. There we go. Dog butt. This is what happens when you don't expect to do these things. There we go. Dog butt. What's up, Straubs? Yeah. All right, we'll zoom that out here. All right, so let's start this next one. This is a walkthrough of what we just saw, the 3D modeling that we saw. Now we get to actually walk through it with our eyes. And let's zoom this out just a little bit there. Boop. All right. And we'll tilt it down a little bit just in case. There you go. Righto, folks. We are ready. And you can see all of those things that were modeled in the 3D rendering actually in front of you. No speakings here, so we'll turn that off. And I am debating whether to flip this or not. Let's do that. Never be too careful. Boop. So this here is the HMS Victory. Literally what we just saw has been put out here. Hang on. Yep, it's still. There is something trapped back there. Hang on. Let me go untrap whatever this is. I shall return in a second. Yep, it was a ball. Oh, God. Don't go back there, Strawberry. You dumbass dog. I swear to God, this is funny. Hang on. Ugh. Okay. So, all right. As we walk up, we can see the here's the cannon shot that was laying around. They're coming up on the that's the poop deck right up there in front, and you can see the big double wheel that's back there. I bet Flux could make something like this in Minecraft. So going up here onto the poop deck. Yeah, that exit sign is may not be period accurate, but it is OSHA accurate. All right. Again, you can just see all the rope here that's just keeping people in place. And they, as they were saying, they would put their hammocks and things in there to dry them out. Let's fast forward through a lot of this. He said there's no audio, it's just ambient noise. Maybe we'll leave the ambient noise in just a little bit lower there, whatever. There's some of the bigger cannons. And here this is the box where they were talking about there, the two compasses and the lantern and the wheel. And here, you know, the officers' quarters, you may remember seeing the tiled floor. So this shows you how good the officers had it. They've got the two giant cannons in their day room. Yeah, Chris, she's beautifully restored. I don't know if I'd say she was restored or she's just been this well maintained for a couple of hundred years. She's been essentially in service until very recently. And more of the captain's quarters. So you notice, I mean, the captain's quarters and the day rooms and whatnot are right next to the wheel. So if there is a problem, if there's an emergency, the captain's right there. You know, the master is right there. The lieutenant's right there. The Nazis bombed her in World War II?
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Nameplates. And here's the boats that they kept in there. The admiral's boat there in the middle, the larger working boat, the cutter on the far side. There's a good look at one of the masts. Some more of the boats. Should just give you some of the sense of the size of this thing. Some more cannons. Let's go down in here. There's some hammocks that are sitting there. So there you go. Just the rows and rows of cannons on the cannon deck with the cannonballs behind them. And you see, again, you can see how they're all roped together. They're all roped into position. And then if one of those rope breaks or it gets away, that's the loose cannon. You know, they call it the loose cannon. That's where the phrase, like a loose cannon, comes from. Why are we buffering? Like I said, I believe there was 110 cannons on this ship, which, as I mentioned, was more than Napoleon had at Waterloo. Yeah, we've got it at double speed, and we're trying to fast forward so it doesn't buffer fast enough. If we get into the officers' dining room here, a little better than just the run of the mill crew gets. Here's the captain's quarters in his office. Oh, this is big enough. This is probably the admiral's. This is probably the admiral's quarters. Captain's or the admiral's. It's big enough. I assume it's. But see, I mean, notice how all these ships, they still have these beautiful glass windows. They were ornate carvings on the doors, and the size of these things, the thousands of trees that went into making one of these ships. David Gay should talk about the Korean turtle ships. That's on the menu. We'll be getting there soon. We'll be talking about the Korean turtle ships. Some beautiful cannon. And, somebody important, their bed is right between two cannons. More cannons. There's a lot of cannons. There's a lot of cannons to look at. Go down to the next cannon deck. See, here's one of the big windlasses. One of the big windlasses for hauling up the anchor chain. This is the top part of it. And then there was still the one in the deck below. That's where you would put the wooden staves in, and then they would walk around and push it around in a circle to haul in the anchor. That's what the actual windlass looks like there. I mean, just look at the size of the ropes that they would need to keep those cannons from launching across the deck there. Geez. They would usually have it provisioned for about 6 months. But then, if it could be out to sea anywhere from 6 months to 2 or 3 years. So they would stop and just re-provision at places, but they could basically stay at sea for 6 months without provisions. There's the stove, the oven for doing all the cooking. More cannons. And with a kitchen right there, amongst the space was just, it was so economized. Just every square inch of that ship was used for something. Arguably even longer if they started eating each other. Well, there'd be like 800 to 850 people on this ship, so that would keep you fed for a bit. Buffer. I believe this is the bottom of the cannon decks. And here's a good view of the hammocks and how close they actually were together. So when the cannons were put away, this entire deck would just be covered with these hammocks just that close to each other. All the little lice jumping from hammock to hammock. Yeah, this is the lower gun deck because this is the third one that we've gone through. Skip ahead here a bit. This is the bottom tier of the windlass. You can see where they have the lead line wrapped around it. You just get the guys to push that around. Lots and lots of fire extinguishers around that place. Now, see there, you can see the different ramrods that they used for boring it out and for wetting it out, wetting it down, cooling it down, and then the ramrod to put the ball in place. Well, on the deck where all the portholes were, there was no outside windows. They would have to get all of their ventilation from opening up doors and hatches above them. So yeah, the gun ports is basically, and they would be closed most of the time unless they were actually being used. So most of the time there was no direct ventilation on the deck where all the hammocks are. There's looks like a sherry butt. There's the sand or water buckets to help with the fire prevention. Yes, they had yet to invent deodorant. That 850 people all sweating together. Delicious. There's a little rascal there. It's a period authentic human mover. Here's the pumps. They were saying they could pump out, was it 600 and some odd gallons of water a minute? Just manning these pumps here. Strawberry, where'd you go, buddy? It's the captain's rascal. The royal buckets. Bring the royal buckets. Because this was a warship, this was a ship of the line. Most of the space is dedicated to war. That was its job. Look at the size of those anchor ropes. Jesus. That would really suck to have this thing bearing down on you, start opening fire. 55 cannons on one side, all pointed at you.
That's intended for those two carronades. Careful, it's very heavy. Almost as heavy as you. Try to lift it. What you've got is that contains about 500 musket balls.
There's the big boys. There's the big cannons. The carronades cannons. Now here we go. This is again getting into the private lockers for the purser, for the quartermaster, for the lieutenant, for the captain, all of their private rooms and offices and storage facilities, all behind lock and key. No, it's not the jail. These are locked storage lockers. It's where they'd keep the food, some of the provisions, some of the captain's personal effects, the lieutenant's personal effects, the medicine here, all the stuff they didn't want stolen. The money, the clothes, the clothing stores.
To the ground.
Again, some more of the private store areas. Now, there's some of the anchor ropes, some of the spares, and were some of the actual anchor ropes. This was the carpenter's area they were talking about, where the carpenter would have access to the outer part of the hull. So he needed to be able to get there in case there was a hole, in case there was something that had to be patched.
Is he blaming himself or his wife now for everything that's not
Stupid dog. There you go. This is the carpenter shop with the ropes and the stores and the pulleys. It's all just piles of rope. Just literally miles of rope there. The rifles. This is the munitions area, I guess. Now we're going down into the very bottom hold here. This is the deep, dark place in the ship. So you can actually see the. You recall they had the whether it was stone or iron or whatnot. They would always keep something down here as ballast. You can actually see it there in the dark. The sand or the iron or whatever it was that they used for the ballast down there. And that's just where they'd store everything else. That's where all the extra stuff, all the food stores and all the booze and everything would be stored down there with whatever else they needed to carry, the extra lumber, the extra parts. And notice how, tall guy here is bending over, because these weren't. I can't remember what the height was, but a lot of times they weren't over 6 feet. And of course the gift shop, because what 18th century ship of the line warship would be complete without a gift shop? There's the gift shop. Well, I'm going to leave this right here because this was just pointed out in chat that they actually have some videos of the Victory doing her thing. Shall we watch this? This is the Victory doing her thing. Yeah, that would suck ass to have that thing shooting at you. Jeebus. Yep. I that would not be fun to be on the receiving end of that. Dang. No, they're not firing cannonballs. They're just firing blanks. But if, oh yeah, hearing loss would be an issue. Definitely. Yeah, if you go back there, as you're just pointing out, as Mirlos was pointing out, there is a little brass plaque where Admiral Nelson died. What are there human remains in the gift shop? Come on. Yeah, like I mentioned, the Carpenter victory around the time of Trafalgar was 6-foot guy, and they had letters mentioning he almost never could stand up inside the ship. Ye oldie gift shop, exactly. Legal mindset would have no chance. No chance there. Yeah, no. The scurvy kept them hunched over anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, we've got Strawberry being Strawberry here. Bring her up for a little encore presentation. There we go. So anyway, wow, that was I had never seen that video before. I just kind of searched for it. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Now, Zeno, I almost called you Zeno. Xenu Triple Z, Excomber Triple Z. It was definitely not Xenu. Thank you so much for the sexy North Korean money. Have you ever owned a boat, Jeffu? Just curious. No, I have never owned a boat. I never have. Occasionally, I'll go out with some friends out because like the marina is just literally right across from here. So occasionally I'll go out with some friends on my rich friends on their boats. I've never had one. I can't even afford to rent one. Tank Rat. Thank you so much, Tank Rat. With the 25 IUDs. I don't know what is worse, hot bunking or this ship sleeping arrangements. Kind of, isn't it sort of like one is just you're doing with 800 people? Thank you so much for that. And Duncan, Idaho, wrapping us up here with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Have you already talked about Master and Commander? We mentioned a little bit of that earlier today. Right at the very beginning, we were talking about it. A few little things. You ever do watch-alongs like Megan did with The Verdict? Also, what do you think of that movie? See, I have mixed feelings about Master and Commander. I have problems with Master and Commander. I thought the movie was stupid. I just thought it was lame, and it was just. I'll still never get that stupid "the lesser of two weevils" stupid ass joke out of my head. I didn't really like the storyline, but from what little I could tell and what little I could see, it's probably one of the most accurate sailing movies as far as actual ship sailing and battles and things like that go. So I think we get points for accuracy. I just didn't like it as a movie. And for some reason, I think back when it came out of the movie theater, I think I was on a bit of an I hate Russell Crowe trip too. So that may have soured it a little bit. But as far as the maritime parts of it go, I thought it was quite accurate. But what the hell do I know? Yeah, it seemed that way to me. But like I said, I like Black Sails. Black Sails was a ridiculous movie. I mean, it was a ridiculous series, but I loved the battle scenes and I loved the whole piracy aspect of it. And John Doe, to this day, even in the U.S. Navy, crew have the cost of food taken out of their paychecks. They hide it from the sailors by calling the extra pay they get on shore a meal stipend. What do you think about that, Strawberry? That's disgusting, isn't it? Yeah. Okie dokie, folks. No, that was not the best joke ever, Jennifer. It almost made me. It almost made me walk out of the theater. Honest to God. Exactly. It's best not to have a boat. It's best to have a friend with a boat because they've got to pay for it. I just get a free load. when you come to the UK, you need to do a Portsmouth meetup. There's fuck all else but pubs and, and docklands. But what more do you need? Exactly. I'm hoping that 25 will be the year that I get to the UK, because I want to spend 2 weeks there. So that's kind of my hope. I know we're done. I'll play with you, okay? That wraps up another Maritime Monday. Yes, I know. You want to play, huh? I'm being summoned by the dog. She's demanding my presence. Oh, but here we go. Where are we at here? Have you done a ranking stream with maritime movies or shows? No, I haven't really. Did you ever watch the Hornblower series? Thank you so much, Easy 007. I've never done a watch along thing. I'd have to figure out how, because I think Chrissy just tells everybody where it is and just pretends to watch it. I know, like Talk with Sally and whatnot, they stream on Twitch and those other places. I'll figure out how to do it, because there's some things that would kind of be fun to watch, like a weekend or something. Easy 007, did you ever watch the Hornblowers? I didn't. I heard it was really, really good. The books are a classic, but someone was actually recommending I think it was last week that I watch it, because it's supposed to be good. So I'll look for it. I will. Was it BBC that did it? But also, again, if you're into science fiction, maybe not so much into the Earth sailing ship thing, but if you're into science fiction, there's a great science fiction. It's a great science fiction series called the Honor Harrington series by David Weber. It's sort of Horatio Hornblower in space, so you get lots of cool space battles that are fought like sailing ship battles. It's pretty damn cool. So if you're into science fiction and you want to read about some good naval battles, but naval battles in space, look at the Honor Harrington books. They're pretty darn good. If you want land-based stuff, you can't get any better than the old Horatio Hornblower books. Yes, BBC. Okay. All right. Yeah, side-eye Straub. She's giving me the side-eye. We are here at the end of another Maritime Monday, and we got through so far without a copyright claim. So that's a good thing. It was essentially, that's how it was written. It was written as a hornblower in space, kind of, that follows the same storyline, whatnot. Fun stuff. All right, folks. Thank you all so much for being here for yet another Maritime Monday. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing tomorrow and Wednesday. One of them is going to happen one day. The other is going to happen another day. One day we'll be reading probably tomorrow. Oh, there's so many things to do. I wish there was like 7 or 8 days in a week. We've got to do a YNW Melly update at some point, but there's going to be a Take Care of Maya Kowalski update, where we're going to be reading the affidavits that were attached to the defense's stupid motion to set aside for jury misconduct, and the other motion. There's a 26-page affidavit that the defense did. We'll read that, and we'll also read the affidavits that were attached to the plaintiffs, the Kowalski's motion. The Kowalski's response to the defense. I'm getting tired here. So we'll be doing a Maya motion affidavit day, probably tomorrow, if not definitely Wednesday. And there's also another case that I want to talk about that's just getting started. It's about a foreign 18-year-old. Why are you destroying my house, Strawberry? Why are you destroying my house? Dumbass. All right. The very quick rundown. In Florida, a young 18-year-old, he was here illegally. He was in the process of having his immigration status hearing, and some cops roll up on him and they start asking what he's doing. He doesn't speak a lick of English. Scuffle ensues. He gets tased a bunch of times, handcuffed, and shortly thereafter that, one of the police officers drops dead of a heart attack, and they charge the kid with resisting arrest and murder. And eventually, the charges were reduced to aggravated manslaughter for the death of the police officer that dropped dead after they handcuffed him. I want to talk a little bit about that case and show some of the body cam footage. So that'll probably be Wednesday. Thursday, O.J. Simpson. We're in the midst of Marsha Clark's closing arguments for the state of California. Friday, we'll be doing whatever's left over, Melly or whatever I haven't got to yet. So that's what we'll be doing this week. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Thank you for being here. Mods, thank you for all you do. And everybody, on your calendar, mark Friday the 15th at, what did I say, 8 p.m.? 7 or 8 p.m. I can't remember what it is. 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern time, about midnight. Yeah, I guess it would be 7 p.m. Eastern time, midnight UK time, and like noon on Saturday, Canberra time. We'll be doing our Merry Effing Christmas Effort Friday stream. So don't miss that. That'll be 2 weeks from now. Getting the guest list worked up now. We'll talk to you, everybody, later. Again, mods, thanks. Chat, you guys are the greatest chat ever. Let's see how our poll ended, shall we? And then we will wrap this up. The like and subscribe poll. What did the ship say when it got into a tight spot? 14% of you said, I need a shipload of snacks. That's the incorrect answer. 25% of you said, I'm up Ship Creek without a paddle. That's not the right answer either. 26% of you said, I'm ship out of luck. You are, because that's the incorrect answer. And oddly, I just randomly chose one of these to be the correct answer. And 34% of you got the correct answer. I'm in deep ship. That's interesting. I just picked one to be the random correct answer, and you guys guessed it. Huh. We're all on the same wavelength because you are the Vice Squad. You're the greatest. You're the greatest chat on the entire internet, hands down. No questions asked. If you've been here for more than 30 seconds, you are officially a member of the Vice Squad. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for keeping me entertained. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chats, the stickers, the monthly memberships, and thank you for just being here and talking and hitting the like and subscribe button. I love you all, and we will see you in about 22 hours from now for more Legal Vices. Until then, take care, everybody. Be kind. Love each other. Don't be a dick. And we're out. Bye.